Welcome everyone to the Georgia Virtual College Fair. Thank you for joining us this afternoon/evening. I have a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen. Type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your cameras and microphones are off. The panelists cannot see or hear you, so just sit back, relax, and listen to this great info you're going to get over the next 45 minutes or so. This is just one of several different sessions happening as part of this event. Be sure to sign up for additional sessions where you signed up for this one, including the virtual college fairs coming up on Wednesday and Thursday evenings. The website is gaprobe.org/students, and you can find and hear representatives from up to 160 colleges and universities presenting over several different sessions, both Wednesday and Thursday night. Again, gaprobe.org/students. is where you can sign up for more sessions Wednesday and Thursday night. At the same website, you'll be able to find a recording of this presentation within about a week. Again, same website, gaprobe.org/students. I've gotten all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, so I will step out of the way and turn it over to our panelists tonight. Again, thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you, Russ. I appreciate the intro and thank you for the housekeeping to get us started this evening. Guys, my name is Joseph Miller, and I proudly serve as Vice President for Enrollment at LaGrange College, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Ms. Selena Magnuson. Selena serves as Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness and Student Success at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Welcome, Selena.
Thank you. It's nice to be here tonight.
Well, as Russ mentioned, we've got an exciting week lined up for you with our Georgia Probe College Fairs this week, and tonight's informational session is who you going to call. And what Selena and I would like to do tonight is kind of walk you through the whole life cycle of admission, from the point to where you raise your hand and indicate that you're interested in a college to the point where you apply, you're admitted. We're going to talk about financial aid. And then on the back end, we're going to wrap that up and talk about what are those things that happen as you confirm your intention to enroll at the college of your choice, from paying your enrollment deposit to getting ready for orientation and registration. So what we're going to do tonight is just walk through the whole life cycle, the cascade of events that happen during your college search. So Selena and I are going to go back and forth on presenting some of this information. I'm going to take mostly the financial aid piece, and Selena and I will get things started by talking about the admission piece, and then Selena's going to wrap it up and talk about all the fun stuff that happens as you confirm your intention to enroll, pay your deposit, and ultimately get registered and attend orientations at your colleges. So as Russ mentioned, this presentation is going to be recorded so you can come back and watch it later. But also too, one thing that I would just mention, as you're getting this information, hopefully this will be a good launch pad as you have conversations with colleges this week and learn more about their policies and their timelines and deadlines as you learn more about applying to your colleges, applying for financial aid, and ultimately confirming your intention to enroll. So Selena, before we get started, do you have anything you'd like to start us off with before we talk about inquiring and admission?
Well, we're just happy to have all of you here this evening. And like he was saying, go back and listen to this if you have questions in your future endeavors. And this is really a fun piece of your college career that we're so happy to help you through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, one of the best things about working in admission and financial aid and enrollment management at colleges is just the annual cycle that we get to meet new students and get students excited about the prospect of not only going to college, but also finding the college of their choice. And I think that's one of the most fun things is that, look, even though we each serve different institutions, we know that as we're working with students and families, not every student's going to make a choice to come to either LaGrange or Georgia Northwestern Technical College. But what we really want to do is to help students and families find the right college for them. And so it's really with the great honor that we lead this presentation tonight, and hopefully the information will be helpful. So to get things started, here we are, the first week of November. Wow. For many of you, this is the fall semester of your senior year, or maybe even the fall semester of your junior year. And now you are beginning the college search. What an exciting time of the year. And especially as you're participating in events like this with Probe College Fairs, you're getting a lot of really good information from colleges. Maybe you're on a couple of colleges mailing list because you've submitted a request for information form or an inquiry form, or maybe they purchased your information from a site like ACT or the College Board or SAT. So either way, you may have already started getting information from colleges, whether it's emails or mailed stuff. But to get started, once you've landed on a college that you're interested in, it's really easy to start getting information from a college. You can do that in a couple of different ways. The first place that I would recommend is going and checking out the college at their website. And most colleges have a really well-developed admission page on their website. So that's what you want to look for. So as you go to a college website, you want to look for something either in the menu options or maybe the ribbon at the top of the page that says admission, or maybe even future students. And from there, if you click on that, that'll give you a whole menu of great information about the colleges that you're looking at. And usually as you drill down into those pages, you can find a couple of different forms that you can fill out as a prospective student. The first may be, it may say something like request more information or get information here. But anyhow, you'll usually see like a button on that page, on the admission page, where you can click on it, and that'll open up a form where you can fill out your personal information. And typically these forms only take what, Selena, like maybe less than a minute to fill out?
Yeah, exactly. They're designed to be very quick and just to get the information in your hands as soon as possible.
Yeah, and like Selena said, really it's just asking for some really basic contact information: your first name, your last name, your email address, your mailing address, maybe even a phone number or cell number, maybe some things like where you go to high school, what you're interested in studying. But the idea behind these forms is so that a college can capture your information pretty quickly, get that information, and then start sending information out to you through email, maybe even a phone call from an admission counselor, certainly a packet of information. And that's going to be your first step towards getting information of the colleges that you're looking at. So the first thing I would recommend is just going directly to the admission site of the colleges that you're interested in, filling out that request for information form or get more information form, and that'll get you rolling with a lot of good information from colleges. Now, on the other hand, there's a lot of really good free search engines out there. You know, I think another place that students begin is they'll just go into Google and they'll type in the name of the college that you're interested in. Also, there's other college search websites like niche.com, and I know that's really popular with students. And all of these resources are super helpful. They're easy to use, and the intent behind them is to get you connected to a college really quickly so you can start receiving information. So that's step one. Now, let's say after you've gotten information from a couple of different colleges and you're starting to narrow down your choice of where you want to apply, now is a wonderful time to start submitting applications for admission, because some colleges have an admission process called early decision or early action, where they'll actually offer a free application for admission for you. And those deadlines usually extend sometime around through the middle of November, sometimes all the way to Thanksgiving. But if you're at a point now in your college search and you're a senior in high school, now is an excellent time to go ahead and complete those applications for admission, because you can secure free admission. You can also secure potentially early notification of admission to the college before the end of the calendar year. And that's really exciting. You may even start hearing back from colleges about your admissibility. So the second step in the process is, once you've narrowed down where you want to apply, is to go ahead and go back to that same admission page on those colleges' websites and complete the application for admission. Now, keep in mind, some colleges will have their own application for admission that they'll ask students to fill out. Some colleges will be part of a consortium or a group of other college applications. If you've heard of things like the Common App, the Common App is an example of a sort of a centralized application where you'll complete it, and then you can select the colleges that you want your application sent out to you. And usually with something like the Common App, you can send out somewhere north of 6, 7, 8 different college applications all at the same time using one application. So that's the next step in the process, is as you apply, once you've completed, once you've gotten the information, you've made a decision where to apply, just make sure you're monitoring whether you're going to complete the college's own application for admission or whether they're going to redirect you to something like the Common App. And once you submit that information, that's going to ask you to provide a little bit more information than what you did on the request for information form. Like, for example, as Selena said, that request for information form is something you're going to complete in less than a minute, really. The application for admission is a more formal process, and it'll typically take you anywhere from, at minimum 15 minutes all the way up to maybe a half hour to fill in a lot of detailed information about why you're applying to the college of your choice. More information about your academic background, more information about your family background. It may even give you a portal to upload documents like a copy of your high school transcript or letters of recommendation, or even writing samples if you're applying test blind or test optional. And certainly this year, since COVID-19 has impacted students' capacity to not only take tests, but also register for national tests like the ACT and SAT, a lot of colleges have already declared their intent of whether they're going to waive standardized test scores as part of the admission cycle this year. And typically a college's admission site will also have that information posted there as well. So always go back to that admission page on the colleges that you're looking at, because that's going to be your best source of information as you start the admission process. And of course, let's not forget I think who are going to be the most central individuals part of your college search is going to be the admission counselors at the colleges of your choice. These are the individuals that are going to be working with you and your parents and your families as you make application to your college, as you submit documents. They're going to keep you updated on the status of your application. They're going to keep you updated on the receipt of documents like your transcripts and your writing samples and your letters of recommendation as you complete your application to the college. And of course, they're going to be that really excited voice on the other end of the phone that's going to be your first phone call, letting you know that you've been admitted to the college. And I think I speak for both Selena and myself. We've been doing college admissions for a long time, and it's those opportunities to notify students of their admission that keeps us really engaged and excited in what we do. That's one of the most fun things that we get to do is notify students that they've been admitted.
Most definitely.
And again, depending on the college that you're applying to, some colleges have already begun notifying students of admission. As a matter of fact, I just was having conversations late last week with a couple of other schools, and they started notifying students of admission starting the 1st of October. Some schools are starting to admit students right now. So again, now is a great time to submit your application, submit your transcripts, because college admission decisions are already rolling out. And for the students on this webinar tonight, we would love for you to be one of the first students to get admitted to the college of your choice. Now, once you have completed the admission process, this will trigger a next step in your admission cascade to the college of your choice, and that is financial aid. Now, federal financial aid applications started becoming available on October the 1st. And so now it's really easy to not only start applying to colleges that you want to at this time of the year, but also to start working on your federal financial aid this time of the year. So I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to switch over to and share my screen if that's okay. Okay. So Selena, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
All right. So let me just jump back here. So next in the cascade of things that will be done, who you going to call? So the first person, as far as admission that you want to call, is your admission counselor. Again, as you request information, as you complete your application, your admission counselor is going to be your main point of contact through the admission process. The next person who you're going to call is going to be your financial aid counselor. And at LaGrange College, who I represent, we are part of a national organization called the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. Just a quick fact, the National Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators, NASFA for short, is the second largest intercollegiate organization, second only to NCAA. It has a huge membership across 2-year and 4-year colleges all across the country. And most individuals in financial aid offices who are financial aid counselors, directors of financial aid, assistant directors, are also members of NASFA, this National Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators. And so what that basically means is that our job is to help provide information, to help guide students and families through the financial aid process so that you know what resources you have available to you as you're considering funding your college education. So to get things started, let's just talk about what financial aid is in general. Financial aid, and this is basically just a Webster's Dictionary textbook definition, Financial aid consists of funds provided to students and families to help pay for post-secondary educational expenses. So financial aid is basically anything that you get monetarily to help pay for college. If it's not coming from your bank account, pocketbook, wallet, purse, or some sort of savings, and if you're getting money from a source to help pay for college, it's considered financial aid. So let me talk about the types of financial aid that you could encounter as you're making an application to different colleges. Usually financial aid falls into 4 different buckets. So first, and I'm going to start with this green quadrant up here in the top right, is scholarships. So scholarships are one of the first types of financial aid that you'll encounter as you apply for a college. So let's say you apply to a college and you get admitted, and then a couple of weeks later, you get notified that you've earned an academic scholarship. That's great, because scholarships are free money that you get typically directly from the school to help pay for college. Now, oftentimes scholarships don't pay for the entire cost of attendance, but they start to pay for a pretty significant amount of the attendance at your school. So in addition to scholarships, as you go down, the blue quadrant says grants. So grants are financial aid. Again, it's also free money to help pay for college that's usually based on some sort of need. And sometimes grants can be issued by colleges. Grants are oftentimes administered through federal financial aid or even state aid. And we're going to talk about grants here in just a moment. Moving over to the yellow quadrant, work study or employment. Work study is a process that you apply for through federal financial aid, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Work study will require you to work a certain amount of hours on campus, but instead of getting a paycheck, you can earn tuition dollars to help pay for college. And then finally, the 4th quadrant at the top left that says loans. Loans can also be part of the federal financial aid process or also through outside process if you're applying to a bank. But loans will help you pay for college so that you're not having to invest so much direct out-of-pocket expenses to go to college. Usually loans are money that are borrowed to help pay for college that you then pay back later with a certain interest rate. So between scholarships, grants, work study or employment, and loans, these are 4 really great resources to help you fund a college education outside of anything that you might have to pay out of pocket. And we'll talk about how you get access to these types of aid as we go through these next couple of slides. Now, we talked about the types of financial aid. Let's look at the sources of financial aid. Where does the money come from? The first source at the very top says federal government. The federal government is the largest source of financial aid, and you apply for federal financial aid from the federal government by completing the FAFSA form. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And again, it's the largest source of aid, and you can qualify for grants, loans, work study, other types of tuition assistance through federal financial aid. The next source in the blue box says states, and we are very fortunate in the state of Georgia to have a very robust state scholarship program through Georgia Student Finance Commission and Georgia Futures. So things like the Hope Scholarship, the Zell Miller, Tuition Equalization Grant, Student Access Loans, that is all types of financial aid that's administered through the state of Georgia. In the magenta box that says colleges and universities, this goes back to that notion of scholarships that are offered by the college. So again, you may receive an academic scholarship or an athletic scholarship or a leadership scholarship from a college or university once you apply. In the blue box or purple box over to the left that says private sources, this is something that you certainly should not overlook, because there are lots of different scholarships and grants that are available to you as a senior in high school. The first place to check for this is your high school guidance counselor. So that's another person who we would recommend that you should call. Many times in either your counselor's corner newsletter that come out from your guidance counselors, or maybe even in your senior packet that you get from your high school guidance counselor, your counselors will provide really good information on private scholarships that are in your hometown or in your area that you can apply to, and also what the deadlines are. And again, now is a great time of the year to start researching that here in November, right before the Thanksgiving holidays, because a lot of these scholarships will allow you to complete the application up through the end of the year. And some scholarships even have deadlines that extend into January, February, and even March. And again, these private sources of scholarships really add up. So just because a scholarship may only be $100 or $200, a lot of times you can apply for multiple private scholarships and you can bring this money with you and it really stacks up. So again, small scholarships really add up. The final box I would mention in the purple box at the over on the left is employers. So check with your mom and dad to see if they may have a tuition courtesy plan or a tuition benefit plan from their employers to help pay for things like books, tuition, fees, or room and board at the colleges of your choice. All right, so we had mentioned that we were going to talk about the federal government as a source of financial aid, and especially the FAFSA. So again, the federal government's the largest source of financial aid. Financial aid awarded from the federal government is awarded primarily on the basis of financial need. You do have to apply each year using the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. And you also have to make sure that you qualify for the eligibility requirements in order to be eligible for the financial aid through the federal government. Again, the application that you need to complete when doing federal financial aid is the free application for federal student aid. The FAFSA can be filed at any time during an academic year, but no earlier than October the 1st prior to the academic year for which the student requests aid. So for example, what that means is if you are a senior in high school right now and you're applying for college to start in fall of 2021, that means you can go ahead and do the FAFSA. So it became open on October the 1st. So it's been open for a little bit over a month, and your parents will use the information to fill out the FAFSA that they filed on their 2019 tax returns. So for the 2021 academic year, the FAFSA may be filed beginning October 1st. So again, it's been open for a little bit over a month. And also colleges may set their own FAFSA priority dates. So even though the FAFSA is available now and you have a couple of months really to complete the FAFSA, some colleges may even start requesting that you get the FAFSA completed by the 1st of December or the 15th of December or by the end of the year. So again, just make sure you check with each college to make sure that you're completing the FAFSA before their deadlines come up. Now, the first place that you want to start, if you have not filled out the FAFSA yet, the place you want to begin is by completing a federal student aid ID, an FSA ID, and you can get to it by going to studentaid.gov. So again, that's studentaid.gov. The FSA ID is used for FAFSA completion and it allows access to certain U.S. Department of Education websites. This will serve as your electronic signature when you complete your FAFSA online. It can be used by students and parents throughout the financial aid process, not only for this year, but you can use the same FSA ID for every year that you complete the FAFSA. Remember, again, you got to complete the FAFSA every year. And again, only the owner should create the FSA ID. But students, if your information is going on the FAFSA, and let's say mom and dad's information is going on the FAFSA, that means we need to get 3 FSA IDs, one for you, one for mom, and one for dad, because that's going to serve as your electronic signature when you complete the FAFSA online. Now, once you've completed your FSA ID, and again, the FSA ID is super fast. You can do this tonight. As a matter of fact, I encourage you guys, once we wrap up this presentation, if you'll go to, let me go back to that page, to studentaid.gov. So again, studentaid.gov. Completing your FSA ID will take you 5 minutes. So maybe right after this, you and mom and dad can sit down, you can complete your FSA ID, and you can all get your FSA ID numbers. Now, make sure that you write those down or put them somewhere safe where you won't forget them, because again, you're going to use the same FSA ID every year that you complete the FAFSA. So once you've got your FSA ID, you can then start working on the FAFSA. Just go to studentaid.gov. Also, you can get there by going to fafsa.ed.gov. One thing I would recommend is, and if you're taking notes, please write this down in all caps. Do not go to FAFSA.com. Do not go to FAFSA.com, because FAFSA.com is a scam website that will make you pay to file your FAFSA. And the FAFSA, the very first word in the acronym is free. It is the free application for federal student aid. So you either want to go to studentaid.gov or fafsa.ed.gov to file your FAFSA. Now, the FAFSA, honestly, it's going to take you about 30 minutes, maybe even up to an hour to complete, because again, just like those applications for admission, it's going to ask for a lot of detailed information from you, the student, the parents, information about your income, and this is where you'll provide information from your 2019 tax returns. But also it'll ask information on your college choices, which colleges you're applying to, whether you're planning to live on campus or off campus. Young men, it'll ask you if you filed for selective service. So a whole bunch of questions that it'll ask as you go through this. So again, set aside about 30 minutes to an hour as you work on the FAFSA. And of course, if you have questions, also on the FAFSA, there's this great chat feature. There's also a 1-800 number that you can call. It's 1-800-4FED-AID, where you can reach out to a specialist through the U.S. Department of Education to answer questions as you're working on the FAFSA. Just a couple of other quick tips and tricks. There is also a really great mobile app for the FAFSA. You can find this on the App Store, and you just look up myStudentAid app. This is a mobile. You have the ability to begin, complete, save, and submit the FAFSA. You can also check on FAFSA submission statuses online, but the mobile app is really great if you just want a handy feature after you've submitted the FAFSA to check on the status and the filing and to make sure everything's processing correctly. So with the federal student aid, there's a lot of resources available to you. So with the FAFSA, you will get pre-qualified to be eligible for things like a federal Pell Grant or an SEOG grant, or a teach grant, or a federal student loan, or things like work study. So the FAFSA will ask you questions about what types of aid programs you're interested in. And this is the information that colleges and universities will use in order to determine your eligibility for those different types of aid. Again, like loans, grants, work study. So in addition to federal financial aid in the state of Georgia is also a huge resource of financial aid for students. Of course, in the state of Georgia, residency requirements certainly apply. Financial aid by the state of Georgia is awarded on the basis of both merit and need. Also, in some cases, the state of Georgia uses information from the FAFSA and its own state application. So if you haven't started already, now is a great time of the year to schedule a meeting with your high school guidance counselor and make sure that your profile is updated on gafutures.org. And of course, remember, there's deadlines in place, so make sure again that you're working with your guidance counselor to make sure you're submitting everything before the deadline. So to go to that, you just want to go to gafutures.org and you can begin your application there. But if you need some guidance on that, again, this is where I'd really recommend scheduling an appointment with your high school guidance counselor who can walk you through this whole process of getting everything set up on georgiafutures.org. Because typically in late February, Georgia Student Finance Commission will start notifying high schools of initial HOPE eligibility for high school seniors. So again, you want to make sure you got this done as soon as possible. Certainly now is a great time of the year, but definitely to get this done before you leave for the Thanksgiving holiday near the end of the month. So with that, again, just as a quick recap, we've talked about admission, and the person that you want to reach out to is your admission counselor. With financial aid, we encourage you to reach out to your financial aid counselor at your college, also your high school guidance counselor at high school. And as you're working on the FAFSA, reach out to the individuals at the U.S. Department of Education, either through the chat feature as you're working on the FAFSA or through the 1-800-4FED-AID number. So again, every college that's a NASFA member is duty bound to help our students and families with questions about financial aid, whether it's specifically at the college that you're applying to, or if you're going to another college. We'll make sure that we provide you with really good information, and we'd love to be a resource for you. So with that, I'm going to close out my screen and I'm going to hand it over to my friend, Selena. So give me a minute to stop sharing my screen. All right, Selena, back to you, ma'am.
All right, let me pull up my screen here.
Perfect.
Okay, you can see that.
Oop, it showed up, but then it flashed up. I see your desktop now.
Oh, it was on. Now
There we
can
go.
you see it?
I can see it. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. It was on a different monitor. Still good?
Still great. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, you've been through the admissions department, you've been through the financial aid department, and everything went smooth sailing. Now you're ready to go. You've got everything paid for and you're admitted, and it's orientation time. So orientation is a vital part of your college experience, and it is one of the funnest times on our campus. I don't know about you, Joseph, but we enjoy this. It is so great because we get to welcome you and greet you to our campus. Now, orientation looks different across many college campuses. For us, we just like to give you what you need to start the semester. And then we kind of do little mini sessions throughout your term. Some colleges may do a full weekend, they may do a full day. Many cases, they are face-to-face. Of course, during this year, we have gone to some virtual components of orientations, or maybe even a mix. A lot of colleges will have a separate orientation for your parents so that they can ask the parent questions while you're asking the student questions, and they can get everything taken care of in that respect. Orientation is handled by different departments across the college. So I would just say, you know, they will be in touch with you. They'll call you or they'll send you an email letting you know when those schedules are available for you to sign up for the orientation of your choice. Usually sometimes those are handled by admissions or student engagement or even student success. The purpose of orientation really is just to give you some basic information and the resources that you need to succeed during your first semester and your first year. It also allows for you to connect with other departments at the college that you're going to be utilizing and organizations, you know, such as if there's athletics, intramurals, any clubs, student government, all those kinds of things are vital for your success as well in college. And then most importantly, you can connect with other incoming freshmen, meet some of your classmates coming in. Once you're finished with your orientation, then it becomes time for you to select your classes. And again, this can vary depending on the school. Maybe you come in as a freshman and there's a standard schedule that you're given, or you have some input into what you want to take. Unfortunately, when I was in college many, many moons ago, freshmen didn't get much of a choice. You usually got a lot of the 8 o'clock classes, a lot of the times that nobody else wanted. But your time's coming. I promise you'll get a choice eventually. So you'll meet and you'll get your classes selected for you. That's your registration process. They'll probably also do an orientation, go over the online portal, showing you how in the future semesters, you'll be able to go on there and select your classes once registration opens for your particular time that's available. They'll also go over educational planning. Often cases in that online portal, there's a program that will show you kind of map out what classes are going to be needed for your degree. That'll kind of show your path to graduation. So you'll want to pay close attention to that so you can stay on track and graduate on time. During this process, I'm sure at some point you'll be introduced to the registrar's office. The registrar's office is another vital part of your college experience. And I just kind of wanted to touch base on what kinds of things you're going to need. Once you're a student, the registrar's office, they kind of house your academic records. They protect them, that you're protected under student records privacy, or you'll hear the term FERPA a good bit. No one can really access your records unless if you've given the permission to the registrar's office and allow like your parent or whoever you deem to access those records. Registrar's office, that's where you go, where unfortunately if you do decide that you're a little overwhelmed and you want to drop a course, you want to be mindful of those deadlines and talk to the registrar's office, and they kind of can sort of help you through that process. And they might have some suggestions for you that maybe you won't end up dropping if you don't need to, or unfortunately if you have to withdraw. But the registrar's office at most colleges kind of are the keeper of the policies and the student records, you know, and so once you're a student, you want to make sure you stay in touch with them when you need to make a change to something. They also kind of monitor your degree audit and what we were talking about in orientation about your path to graduation. I know when I was a former registrar, I'd have students end up in my office that would say, in the portal, it says that I'm missing a course, but I took this course 2 semesters ago. You know, so you have to kind of be mindful of that, because something could be missing. It could just be a glitch, and the registrar's office can help you clear that up. So, and typically that is the registrar's office on most campuses, but there should be an office similar that can handle that if it's not the registrar's office on the campus that you choose. So that was kind of a brief overview of how orientation will look for you, and kind of just to touch on the registrar's office. Joseph, did I leave anything out there? I kind of went through that pretty quick.
No, ma'am, I thought that was great. And again, as Selena mentioned, orientation and registration really, not that the other parts of the process aren't fun. They're all really fun, but the orientation and registration piece is really the celebration of the year when students and faculty and staff really get to meet together for the first time after you've initially and officially made your decision to enroll at the college of your choice. And boy, it really is a great celebration.
It really is. It is. Second to this, I love graduation. It's another time where everybody kind of comes together, and it's an exciting time. So, going back to what Joseph was talking about those work study or work employment opportunities, if you have an option at your college to work in one of these offices, I'd say go for it, because it's exciting, and it would be a fun option while you're on your college pathway there.
Yep, it's definitely the exclamation point at the end of the sentence.
Mhm.
Orientation and registration, exclamation point.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I guess we're at the point to where we can open it up for some questions if anybody has any.
I believe you're right, Selena. So through this process in the presentation, students, I hope that you got a really good sense of the cascade and the flow as you go down the stream of expressing initially an interest to a college, to applying, to working with your admission counselor, to working on financial aid, working with your financial aid counselor, your high school guidance counselor, and ultimately all the way through the final steps of confirming your intention to enroll, submitting your enrollment deposit, attending an orientation, and finally getting registered and starting classes at the colleges of your choice. Another thing to keep in mind, students, here we are in November of your senior year of high school. A lot of what we've explained really walks you through almost through a full calendar year, a full academic year between September through August of a year. It doesn't necessarily have to take that long. I know a lot of students will still continue to apply for colleges in the spring semester of their senior year, and that process just gets collapsed and condensed into a couple of months. So depending on where you are in your search process, what Selena and I have walked through tonight can be a long courtship, again, that'll last anywhere from 10 to 12 months, or it can be something that you can complete really, really quickly. But the one thing that I would caution and recommend is this, is that really once you have landed in on a college that you want to apply to, it's always good advice to try to make sure you get your applications in by no later than Thanksgiving, if you can avoid it, or if you need to apply later than that, certainly no later than Christmas, because again, a lot of the really great financial aid and scholarship opportunities are going to start drying up after the start of the new year. Private applications are going to start closing out. Some colleges may have FAFSA filing deadlines, and that's going to really restrict your capacity to get consideration for some of the best scholarships that are out there. And of course, we don't want to do anything that would slow you up in the process of getting all the information that you need to make a final decision so that you can participate in what Selena was mentioning with the orientation and registration process, which usually takes place in the summer before you start for classes in the fall. So, so that's always important. It goes without saying, a lot of it's first come, first served, especially when it comes to scholarships, housing assignments. But again, as Selena mentioned too, your class schedules. And if you want to make sure that you've got first consideration for some of the best classes available, so that you're not stuck taking all 8 a.m. classes, you want to make sure you apply early, get your information in early, and start making your commitments as early as possible as well.
I agree, and get in early, because a lot of schools will have multiple orientation timeframes over the summer. So the earlier you're ready, then the earlier you get invited, and the best choice, you get the best choice there, and you can come early and get the best courses. So,
yeah. And of course, the motivation behind all this is we want to serve you. We want to serve you, the students. We understand, especially for you and your parents, you guys are giving us your two most precious resources. Moms and dads, you're giving us your children and your hard-earned money. And so we want to invest in and take care of both of those things as a covenant of sacred trust. And so just know that of any of the colleges, we have great respect and admiration for our colleagues all across the state. Everybody's going to take great care of you. And we would just love to have the opportunity to work with you guys early and start this discussion and start these processes early. By early, I mean like right now, rather than having to wait until the spring or even early summer for you to make decisions about applying and getting scholarships and things like that. So again, early is always best.
I agree.
So with that, I'm curious, our friend Russ Maloney is monitoring the questions that are be coming through. We'll be glad to answer those as those are posted to us. So you've got Selena and me for at least another 5 minutes, and we'd love to open the floor to you. And while we're waiting on questions, I'll mention this. What Selena and I have also unpacked is a traditional process of someone applying for admission for a fall semester start. Keep in mind that a lot of colleges also will offer admission for start terms like the summer and even the spring semester. So for example, if you're a high school graduate and you're wrapping up in December, it's very possible that you could go ahead and even start college in the spring semester or the summer semester. You don't necessarily have to wait through the fall, but everything that we've unpacked tonight is the same process. You'll get information from a college, you apply to college, you'll get financial aid, you'll make your decision, submit your enrollment deposit, and then attend an orientation and registration session.
Okay, we got a question there that says, am I able to send official transcripts without finishing high school? Yes, you can send those in. They're probably going to ask for a final transcript as well. That's been my experience. Is go ahead and send them in, but you're probably going to need to send them in again once it's final. We have a good bit of students doing that now. We had some students that their graduation was delayed from spring due to COVID, and so they are graduating in December. So we'll get probably a mass influx of transcripts over Christmas break.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So as Selena mentioned, the transcript that you'll submit now, if you're a senior in high school, is your in-progress transcript. So a lot of colleges will use the in-progress transcript that reports your grades at this point through the end of your junior year, and it probably shows your in-progress grades that you're currently taking in your senior year. So again, as Selena said, go ahead and submit what you got, and then once you've completed high school, they'll ask you to submit your final transcript to confirm your date of graduation and also wrap up any of the other information that was on your in-progress transcript.
Right. And looks like a follow-up to that. It says he was looking online and it says, I may have to pay for it. Is that true? College transcripts do usually have a fee to send those between various colleges. High school transcripts do not have a fee. So you should be okay there.
Yeah.
And then
I see we've got a question about the FAFSA, so I'll be glad to answer that one. So if a student has submitted a FAFSA and they realize that they're not going to be eligible for the Pell Grant, what can a student do? Well, here's some great news. You actually have a couple of options. The first place I would recommend to go to is to contact your financial aid counselor at your college, because the information that you've provided for the FAFSA this year, again, is your parents' 2019 tax returns. And because of some challenges and disruptions that may have happened with COVID-19, what you've reported on your FAFSA may be inaccurate or out of date. Colleges can go through a process called professional judgment, where they can get more recent information on your current financial situation. So unfortunately, I know of many families right now whose parents may have been furloughed or laid off or gone through a massive layoff or maybe even lost their job. And so their income information is different from what they initially put on their 2019 tax returns. If that's the case, if there's been a loss of income, if there's been a change in marital status, if there's been additional expenses in your home, reach out to your financial aid counselor, because even though you may not have qualified for a Pell Grant, they can work with you to go through this professional judgment process to see if you may qualify for other types of aid, or if adjustments can be made to your financial aid package to see if you may qualify.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Another question here, will my ACT score be more beneficial? I took it 2 weeks ago. My current GPA is 3.7 now. I guess that could just vary. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to send that in. I would say go ahead and have those ACT scores sent in.
Yeah, I think that's always good. You know, the thing I would also recommend is, again, because of COVID-19 and a lot of testing centers canceled or closed or limited their capacity to test, a lot of colleges have declared their intent that they're not going to use test scores this year, either for admission or scholarships. So go back to our first recommendation to call your admission counselor and find out if the colleges that you're applying to are going to require the ACT test, or they may not require it at all, but definitely reach out to your admission counselor.
Yeah, most definitely. They're your guide through that whole process.
Well, I think we have come up on the end of our session. We're at our session time, so I wanted to thank you both for sharing all this great information during this session. And I want to thank our attendees for joining us. And a couple of reminders: when you close this window, there'll be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, there are other sessions coming up. As mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, Wednesday and Thursday night, as part of the Georgia Probe event, you can see virtual college fairs, up to 160 colleges and universities presenting in many different sessions, 6 institutions at a time. You can sign up for as many sessions as you can at gaprobe.org/students. Again, that's gaprobe.org/students to get those sessions on Wednesday and Thursday evening. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings, again, at the same website that you registered for this session, gaprobe.org/students. Once again, I want to thank our presenters for joining us and giving us this great information tonight. And thank you for attending. Have a great rest of your Monday. Take care.
Thank you.